Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. I am Maria Fonseca. I'm a grants associate with the QOL team. Welcome to the Quality of Life Applicant Technical Assistant webinar. First, if you need to turn on the closed captioning, there's an icon on the lower right. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available along with the slides on our website in a few days. I'm going to be going over the application along with the guidelines to assist you in submitting your grant requests. All questions during the webinar must be submitted in the Q&A and not the chat box. This is going to allow us to track your question and our responses that are going to be later on posted on the website. Any questions that are not submitted but are not answered here will be answered there also. I want to remind everyone that these grants are for nonprofit organizations. The QOL program is funded by a federal cooperative agreement with the Department of Health and Human Service, the Administration for Community Living, and we are not able to provide grants, money, or funds to individuals. Nonprofit organizations that have an IRS 501c3 tax status, municipal, state government, school district, colleges, and universities, recognized tribal entities, and other institutions such as community health centers or veteran hospitals are able to apply. The 2023 first cycle program will offer direct effect and expand impact grants. The deadline for application submission is Wednesday, March 8th. Grant projects awarded through this cycle will start on June 1st, 2023, and the grant closing days are noted during the webinar and in the guideline. After the webinar, if you have any questions, just please submit them to this email address, qol@christopherreeve.org, and the deadline for email questions is going to be next Tuesday, February 7th. The webinar overview is it's listed here. We're going to go through a brief introduction of the Reeve Foundation, National Paralysis Resource Center, and the Quality of Grants program, and we'll refer to as QOL. The application process, we're going to go over a direct effect application, the expanded impact grant applications, the review process, the grant selection, and how you are notified after an award. What is important to know is that we are a paralysis focus, and the grant funding must be targeted to projects that would serve individuals living with paralysis, their families, and caregivers. We also use a functional definition of paralysis, any difficulty or inability to use arms and or legs due to neurological conditions, but not limited to spinal cord injury. So traumatic brain injury, stroke, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, ALS, post-polio syndrome. These are other projects that we have funded. We will consider supporting programs that include people that have caring disabilities, as well as inclusive community projects. The proposed projects must serve a majority of people with paralysis and at least 3 individuals with paralysis as defined on the slide and their families or caregivers. The Christopher and Dana Reeve National Paralysis Resource Center has been federally funded since 2014 through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Community Living, the ACL. And the National PRC provides deeply needed information, programs, and individualized support and assistance to over 5.3 million Americans living with paralysis. This is a snapshot of all the services that the National PRC offers. We have provided over one-on-one assistance to over 106,000 families and 170 languages. We have a military and veteran program. We have a peer and family support program, and which includes over 450 certified peer mentors who provide support to over 12,000 people. We have a virtual community of over 3 million users who visit our website, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media outlets. All of our resources are free, including our flagship publication, the Paralysis Resource Guide, is available in English and Spanish and 10 other languages. We have wallet cards on AD and other secondary conditions. We have publications on bladder, bowel management, pressure injuries, advocating for the rights of children, employment, state facts. All of these resources are available to your organization and to those that you serve. You can go to our website and order them directly, or you can contact an information specialist and they could be sent out to you at no charge. As I mentioned at the beginning, we cannot grant awards to individuals. Our assistance to individuals is through the National Paralysis Resource Center, through our information specialist team, and they're able to answer questions and provide individualized support. They can help whether it's someone who has recently sustained an injury or if you're getting in touch with someone else. Here's the information to reach them. You can give them a call. You can schedule an appointment, a phone appointment with them, or send a question, and they will be more than glad to help you out with any questions that you may have. We are very proud of the work of the Reeve Foundation. The Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation stretches back to 1982, when a New Jersey high school student, Harry Stifel, was involved in a car accident that left him paralyzed at the age of 17. What started as the community-driven Stifel Paralysis Resource Foundation soon became the American Paralysis Association. And in 1995, when the actor Christopher Reeve was injured, the APA was one of the first places that he and his wife turned to. And by 1999, the APA became Christopher Reeve Foundation, and Dana's name was added after her untimely passing in 2006. The Quality of Life Grants programs impacts and empowers people living with paralysis, their families, caregivers, by providing grants to nonprofits whose projects and initiatives foster inclusion, involvement, and community engagement, while promoting health and wellness for those affected by paralysis in all 50 states and US territories. We're going to start with the information on how to complete your application. These are the tools that are listed here are all available in our website, starting with the application and the program guidelines. They contain critical information and specific information about this program. The guidelines are available on our website, which provides information about the QOL grants program and funding, the tier descriptions, the eligibility criteria, funding restrictions, what is allowable as an expense, and any questions. The guidelines are available on our website, and the link, as I mentioned before, is on the slide, and I really recommend that everyone reads it and before you submit your application. All of our applications are submitted through our online grants portal, and the link is in the guidelines also. Read all the information in these documents and the web pages to become familiar with the application process and better prepare the required information requested in the application. Here's a eligibility requirement that I want to make sure that everyone understand. We get this question a lot of who can reapply. Previously, the waiting period for reapplying for funding after receiving a grant was 1 year from your grant closure. With this new cooperative agreement, we're striving to create a level playing field and opportunities for the organizations applying for funding. So we have instituted a new waiting period of 5 years, but that's only within the same category. Any other category or tier will still be a 1 year waiting period for your previous grant close. For example, there are 5 tiers of funding available twice a year. If your organization receives a tier 1 adaptive sports grant this cycle, you must wait a year after the grant is completed and you receive the notification from us that your grant has closed before you can apply for another quality of life grant. Your organization not able for a second tier adaptive sports grant until after June 30th, but you might apply for other categories in the same tier or for other tiers of funding. This cycle, we are offering 2 structures for the cycle. The cycle will offer the direct effect quality of life grant tier, which is open focus and will award at least 30 grants up to 25,000 and will fund specific budget items that would clearly impact the life of individuals living with paralysis, their families, and caregiving. We usually get about 400 applications. And the other tier that we have is expanded impact, which will offer about up to 4 grants, and those are up to $100,000. The direct effect grants have a short to medium range impact. Long range impact and sustainability are not expected for projects funded at this level. The expanded impact is for organizations that have already received a Reeve Foundation grant and have shown that it's great impact and is ready to move to the next level of impact, be it statewide, regionally, or nationally. But you must have had a previous Reeve grant. Here are some of examples of projects that we have funded. And I also urge you to go to our website for a full listing of grants made through each tier and program. We have organizations and we have descriptions of their project that you can always look for more information. And some of them, so you can see, like, for example, like wheelchairs for a wheelchair basketball team, or a kayak for a rowing program, peer support, camps, lift for a pool. And there's, again, like I mentioned, you can go to our website and see all the different ones that we have funded in the past. Okay, so now we're going to start on talking about completing your application. And like I mentioned before, all the grant applications are completed through a link to the Reeve Foundation online grants portal. You can find the link on our website and in the grant application and program guidelines, and the link is also included here. Once these slides are posted, you can copy and paste the URL that's shown in your website browser. We also ask that you please add these two emails, the QOL@christopherreeve.org and the administrator@grantinterface.com, to your acceptable email address list to avoid having mail communications from the Reeve Foundation blocked by spam. The administrator and grant interface emails are those that will be coming to you directly from our online grant system. The proposals are due on Wednesday, March 8th at 2023 at 11:59 Eastern Time. No exceptions will be made if you pass this deadline, and we will review the application with two separate review committees. The external review committee from March to May 1st, and grants will be awarded by the end of May, and the grant cycle will begin on June 2023. Once you use the link to go to the online grants portal, you will see detailed instructions on how to apply to set up your organization. If you create an account if you're a first-time applicant, and the returning applicants use the mail address you used before. If you need assistance logging in, you can send us an email. Sometimes maybe the person that was originally associated with the organization is no longer there. If you need to reset a password, please let us know. Please do not duplicate organization information. Just let us know and we will help you to get to that. You would see on the right side of the screen, once you get there, it has very detailed instructions of exactly what to do if you're a first-time applicant. If you're returning, it will guide you through the process. So then you will come to this page and you will see the two programs that we're offering this time. Expanded Impact is for past awarded grantees wanting to expand the program. And we're going to talk about it later as we continue on the application and the different pages that Expanded Impact has. Be careful with your selection. Just make sure that either you like I said, if you were awarded before, or if you're going for the 23 first cycle direct effect. You can see there's a little icon. You can preview and download the application if you need to. Sometimes people like to download it first and go to the questions, and sometimes create a Word document and copy and paste for some of the questions, just whatever it makes, it's easier for you to complete the questions. This is, as we go down the application, this page has the links available for the guidelines for discussing people with disabilities and our application and program guidelines. Make sure that you review the language and confirm that you understand them. There's a section there where you would ask yes or no. Then we move over to who is eligible to apply. Applications are accepted from 501c3 nonprofits, like municipal and state governments, school district, colleges, tribal entities, and other institutions such as community health centers and veteran hospitals. An organization must have its own 501c3 tax status or be a part or a chapter of a national organization that has a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Fiscal sponsors cannot apply on behalf of a nonprofit organization, and 501c4 organizations that do not have 501c3 are ineligible. In accordance with our federal cooperative agreement, the Reeve Foundation is prohibited from funding the following. The first one being, as you can see, is money given to an individual in a grant program, any stipends, speaker fees, money for a family to pay for respite. The money has to be given to the foundation, not to the individual. We also, any for-profit companies are not eligible to apply, and organizations and projects that are based on the United States, or any organizations that are going to use a contractor where they are purchasing any kind of equipment or supply from a company that is outside of the United States. We cannot fund research. It's something that we absolutely cannot fund. And we cannot fund any kind of therapy, any rehabilitation therapy. However, programs that assist people living with paralysis to participate in exercise programs are allowable. Programs that use a physical or occupational therapist to work directly with the persons with paralysis are considered part of this therapy, and they're not cannot be funded. But if it's an exercise opportunity that is facilitated by someone who, for example, has a bachelor's degree in science or is a certified instructor, those are allowed. We cannot fund any constructions of buildings or major constructions or new playgrounds cannot be funded. We can fund, however, projects that are going to bring in an accessible equipment to the playground, or anything that is going to replace anything that is older or not accessible. But a construction of a brand new playground is not permitted. So as you see, we went down through the application, and it's very clear there of what we can fund, what we cannot fund. And we want you to read them and to make sure that it is a good fit for your project. Then we want you to confirm here that you had read them and you understand them. And the next section, it'll ask you for the type of nonprofit or the business that you are, and you see all the different options there. The next page is the question of, is going to list the questions, pretty much is going over all the related funding restrictions that we just went over, and it is all explained in the first part of the application. If you answer yes to any of these questions, you cannot proceed. And again, this relates to the questions that we went over before. Then the next page is going to go into your proposal. The first thing it's going to ask you is to confirm that the project will serve individuals living with paralysis, their families, and their caregivers. You need to provide here your project name and make sure that your project name is consistent within the application. And later on, when you fill out your budget and when you fill your narrative, that the project name is always the same in every one of the documents. Then you can pick the different project types that we're funding for this tier. They're all listed here, and just select the one that is most closely to the one that your project will be. The next page asks for a project description. And what we did here is just to give you an example. Just please provide a simple and short summary of the project, which outlines the why, the need for it, what activities and offerings, and how is the Reeve funding going to support this project. We suggest that you keep it simple, as other specific project components like timeline and goals, impact are covered under different sections of the application. For example, there's an example here, somebody whose project is we currently have 20 people with paralysis as registered users for our fitness equipment at no cost. And one of the most popular equipment is X, and it's old and failing. So the organization, they're the only organization in a 20-mile radius to offer this opportunity, and the installation and the use of the equipment, or the new equipment, will allow them to safely provide services and individuals with paralysis. The fitness opportunity benefits mentally and physically. This equipment has had a proven positive impact on the health, fitness, and QOL of our participants with paralysis. And equipment X will be installed on the X facility located at it's just the details of the project that you are trying to fund. We just wanted to provide an example here. The next questions are the goals. For example, in this particular case, it will be to increase access to fitness opportunities for people with paralysis by offering this equipment for free training classes or memberships to the facility, in their facility, to people with paralysis. These classes will be led by certified professionals and not a PT or an OT, and will assist participants in achieving their individual goals. Then the next part is just to make sure that you know that this project cannot take longer than 12 months. And we want you to verify that there. Then we would go into provide for us the timeline, the activities and the benchmarks. When do you plan to start? Like benchmarks, like the equipment will be purchased by a certain day. When do you plan it to arrive? When do you plan the installation to happen? And again, everything needs the project needs to be completed in 12 months. The application also requires that you describe the expected impact. And the example that we have here is that we need to know what the impact that the project would have on the target population, the family, the caregivers. For example, a project that was funded for free beach access will have a long-lasting impact on people with paralysis and their caregivers. The program will provide a feeling of inclusion and connection with others in a fun and safe environment. The project will create an opportunity for all to make long-lasting memories. So that is the expected impact long-term. The next questions are pretty straightforward. How many people living with paralysis will be served with this project? Let us know how you come to this figure and the data source used. In the next slide, I'm going to provide you with some websites that can help you with this information, the impact of the number of caregivers and the family members, and the impact on caregivers and family members of those living with paralysis. The number of people that are going to be served applies to the whole project timeline, in this case, 12 months. So when you're coming up with this number, just make sure that is for the project timeline. In this case, again, 12 months. These are different target populations that you serve, and the age of the group of the participants, and what type of outreach you're going to use to promote this project. If you need assistance in determining the number of people living with a disability in your area, here are some websites that can help you find, different tools that sets maps or shows information about people that are living with a disability. The evaluation, you're going to need to evaluate the project, and as one of my team members say, you propose it and we will measure it. So you need to provide specific measures to be used. Surveys, for example, there's a link here to the guide to establishing evaluation indicators. You're going to need to identify the approach that you take to achieve and expect these goals and outcomes. And based on what you expect to achieve through this project is how you will measure the benefits, how you will measure the benefits of the project. For example, if your goal is to serve 20 people with paralysis and at least 90% of the participants will report improved quality of life, then your evaluation methods could be use a registration form to track people and see and get feedback from their participation on the program, or a survey that will be designed to include the target questions that benefit for a specific program of class of equipment. And then you report it, and then this will tie to your final report where you would say that you offer these fitness classes to 20 people, and of the 20 of the people participating, 16 completed the survey, and 15 or 90%, 95% individuals reported a marked improvement in the quality of life. So we want to see how you are going to evaluate your project. Again, these are questions regarding to your organization, and if you are in a medical underserved area or medically underserved population, if you can just mark it here, this is really important for you to complete this. We use this for our reporting to ACL, and we just want to make sure that we're serving, the communities in different states and different counties and in different areas. The budget information, very important. Here you will put the amount requested for direct effect. As you know, it's up to 25,000. If we're expanded, it's 100,000. And the next line, you need to enter what the total proposed budget for the project is going to be. And you see there also keep the format that it's detailed there. You have to download the template that comes with the application. Do not use any old versions, because then any applications using an older version of the budget are going to be eliminated. There is a tutorial on our website specifically to walk you through filling out the budget line by line. So if you need help and you need a little bit more guidance on this, please go to our website and watch the budget tutorial. So as you can see here, I'm going to download the template for the budget, and there's also a budget narrative, and we're going to talk about those. But first, I want to just mention the expenses that are allowable. If this is your first time applying for a quality of life grant, you will be surprised about how many different project categories we're able to fund each year. Funds can support a wide range of expenses for the program and for the services, which we covered in the direct effect description slide. Grant funds can support personnel, consultants, contracted workers, transportation costs, facility rental, reimbursement for travel, for marketing. We're going to talk about equipment funding restrictions in a few minutes. You can see here, these are the travel costs. This is based on our federal grants. So these are the limits of how much you can ask for the travel expenses. The airfare is $500, the train $275, the hotel $225 a night, and the mileage for $62. Equipment and supplies are also allowable, and we're going to talk about those next. There's also an indirect cost rate of no more than 10%. If your organization has a negotiated federal indirect cost rate agreement, you may include indirect costs at the federally negotiated rate. Please note that a copy of your current NICRA will be requested if your application is approved for funding. And again, expenses that are directly related to the program and serving the individuals with paralysis and their families are considered more favorable than operational expenses or large capital projects. As we mentioned before, there are some funding restrictions. Equipment that can be funded is provide access or it promotes independence. So for a couple of examples, you're providing access, you're getting adaptive strollers that are used as part of a program, and they're not given out to individuals. They will remain on site, a transfer chair in a community pool, a lift, an examination table in a rural area where no such equipment is available. Those are considered providing access. For promoting independence, we have had examples like, for example, scale, because it promotes independence and it allows people to remain healthy, as being overweight can lead to different chronic and health conditions. Beach wheelchairs and adapted bikes at a community park. Those are examples that could fit under the area of providing access as well as independence. Gym equipment that is providing access is allowable. However, no gym that you need a physical therapist or a medical type personnel guiding you through the process or in use in therapy. And so now let's see, another part of equipment that is allowable is to fund loan closets. Otherwise, any equipment that is provided to individuals to keep is considered a gift, and we cannot fund those. It is important that you detail in your application how the loan closet will be managed. Requests for loan closets must include a specified period of time, and we always appreciate that you tell us how you're going to manage if there's going to be a waiting list or how this equipment people are going to become accessible for them. A device loan is typically 4 to 6 weeks and sometimes up to 9 weeks or 3 months, and enables the individuals to try out and become familiar with like AT or durable medical equipment before acquiring it on their own. They're open-ended and long-term loan clauses will not be considered. There has to be a time limit to how long are they going to keep this equipment. And this also applies to REMP. And another one is internet service can be provided through the loan or hotspot devices on a tablet with internet service included. The development of prototypes for invention or equipment or other research and development activities involving intellectual property rights are not allowed. We can also cannot fund construction of buildings or major construction. However, funds may support simple modifications that make a structure accessible, like a playground or a trail, other things like that. Requests for simple accessible bathroom modifications, for example, it's allowed. For an already existing bathroom, we cannot construct a new bathroom, but we can fund the process of making it accessible. Allowable expenses can include things like grab bars and sinks. We cannot fund the building of a new bathroom or a major renovation of the existing bathroom. If, for example, you're requesting funds for an accessible lift or an elevator, this will be allowable under equipment that provides access and promotes independence. We cannot fund the excavation or construction of the elevator or the shaft, as that will be considered major construction. And for playgrounds, modifications of minor or older playgrounds are allowable. We cannot fund any playgrounds that are going to be entirely new. For example, we see a lot of applications for fully accessible playgrounds in school districts or towns that currently have no inclusive and accessible option for children living with paralysis and their families. If a school comes to us with a proposal that says they're completely renovating their non-accessible playground to make it fully accessible and inclusive because they are replacing the older playground. We can fund things such as a pour and play surfacing or any accessible and inclusive playground structures. If the school did not have a playground before and is installing a brand new playground for the first time on this property, we're able to fund that. If minor relocations are happening within the same property, such as moving the playground to a more accessible location or in school grounds, that will be considered eligible as well. But relocations must remain at the same property once it becomes a change of address, is no longer a minor relocation. So now we're going to see where all this comes into place in the budget. We have revised the project budget template. The new budget template is that you can download it straight from the application. So please use that document because the older versions can cause your application to be eliminated. Starting at the top of the budget for the name of the organization, the project name, the amount that you're requesting, and this is also coming from the beginning of the application, and the total project budget. So you put those amounts there, and then you're going to go starting at the top of the budget, itemize every line, the cost of the line item and the requested amount. The subtotal and the total cost will formulate automatically. So please try not to change any of the formulas in the document. Also, always remember not to include taxes. When you're listing equipment that you're buying, just itemize each one. For example, if you're buying five wheelchairs, how much each one is, and put that in the equipment cost. Provide the quotes whenever it's possible. When it comes to allowable expenses, just remember that there's like no meals or water. Sometimes if there's a program, for example, where the program itself, for example, we've in the past, we funded, let's say, service dogs, the meal for the dogs, because it's part of the program, that's allowable, but you cannot, any meals that are for the individuals participating in the project and or in the program. The indirect costs will go in this line where's other costs. And remember that the formulas are going to add automatically. The next page is going to be, if you're not requesting for full funding, then the difference will appear here. This is the funding gap is going to be the difference between the total cost and the requested fund. And we want to know the current position of the balance of the funds. So it's going to help us to see how much of our funds are contributing to the total project and where the rest of the funds for the project are coming from. So if you can just list them here, the formula is there, and make sure that the total amount of the project matches on the top. The next page is the budget narrative, and it's basically the Excel sheet in writing. Just go line by line in your budget template and include a description and a justification of each budget category and line item presented in your proposed budget. Please do not list anything on this narrative that is not on your budget template. The budget narrative is a way to really help us get a better understanding of where the grant funds are going to be used for. And again, there's also a copy of this on the application and is also on our website. The next page is going to be in regards to vendor quotes. If you have them, we ask that you include the vendor quotes for the specific budget items. The vendor quotes must be current at the time of the application submission, and we strongly recommend that for all equipment and services and contractors. If you're purchasing equipment or supplies from a website such as Amazon, just send us a screenshot of the price of the listing that are welcome. Or if the vendor has provided you with one, please forward it to us. Again, remember, we do not pay for any sales tax. You can upload them here. We want you to confirm that they're valid for, if you are submitting, that they're valid within the 3 months of the applications. And again, the vendor quotes are preferred, they're not required. They're really, for your internal records, but we prefer that you provide us with those. In here, we want to know what is your budget strategy if the project is not funded by Reeve. And then the supporting documentation, this is optional if you have anything as photographs or newspaper clippings or any articles or that you feel that it would be beneficial to the application. We always welcome for you to put those there. This page is all information about your organization, and the mission statement will be provided there. And just let us know, who you are and what you do and how you do it, and the reason that your organization is in place, and what the services that you're providing, the description of your organization, the history. We want to know if you're a Center for Independent Living, so please mark it there, and the line for the total operating budget for your organization. For any organization that is requesting $25,000 or more, you must provide an active and valid unique ID number. If you already have a SAM Gov issue, a unique, enter it below. If you don't have one, we urge you to do this immediately, because there's been a backlog and sometimes it can take some time. But if you're requesting the full 25,000, I cannot proceed unless that number is there. And we also require the zip code with the additional FER code. It's very important that we do this in order to be able to fund anything that is $25,000 or above. The next questions are just federal audit requirements. If you funded in the past, just you would mark those there. Finally, we want to know if you're a prior grantee and how you learn about this grant opportunity. This next slide is for expanded impact only. So for the expanded impact grants, there are additional questions related to the project that was previously funded. And the project types that are included here are different from direct effect because it covers both direct effect and priority impact grants. The expanded impact grant, like I mentioned before, is for 24 months. There you would go back to the grant that you were previously awarded and fill out this information. And for the section where it reads previously funded projects and achievements, you can refer to the report of the previous, your final report of the previously awarded grant. This area, these questions here are also exclusive for expanded impact. We want to know the experience with the work in the grant focus area, that we want to know the staff that are responsible for the project, their name, their title, the responsibility in the project, and who are you going to be collaborating in order to expand your program and be successful. After you go through all this, then you are going to, you can save it if you want to go back, and you can save the application at any time and go back to it by clicking the save application button. And once you have completed it, you responded all the questions and uploaded, you can just hit the submit application, and then a submission confirmation is going to appear, and the system will send you an email indicating that your application was received. So again, please make sure that your email address has been entered correctly, and the administrator at grantinterface.com is added to your contacts, because the email will be coming from that account. So it's important that it's correct. All applicants will be notified by email if their application has been approved or denied. If your project is awarded, you'll be asked to indicate your acceptance of the grant. You'll receive an intent to accept, where you accept or decline the award, and provide us with the contact information for where the grant agreement and the check should be sent to. Once the intent has been received and the grant agreement is issued, it's sent via email for signatures. And once we receive the grant agreement signed, then the checks are sent out. We'll also provide you with a press release template to help you publicize the grant award. And because we regularly feature our grantees on social media, on the website, and in newsletters and other publications, so we may call on you to provide stories and photographs that we can share with our community. Again, these grants are 12 direct effect, they're 12 months. There's going to be a requirement. All this will be explained in your grant letter, but direct effects has 2 reports, one interim at 6 months, one final at 13 months once the project has ended. For expanded impacts, there's 4 reports. There's a 6-month check-in, an interim at 12 months, an 18-month check-in, and a final at 25 months. And all these reports are going to be available in your dashboard, and you will receive an email to remind you that these reports are due. Sites visits to the quality of life grantees by members of the Reeve Foundation, the staff, board of directors, or volunteers. We like to arrange them whenever it's possible. We want to learn about your program and assist you in any way and participate in any activities that you might be conducting. And finally, as part of the final report, we asked the grantees to complete a short survey. This is conducted by Vanderbilt University, and it enables us to offer, enables you to offer feedback about the whole process. And we encourage you to complete it because we're always looking for ways to improve the process for all applicants. So to successfully close out your grant, the grantee must have submitted a final report, and there's again where you indicate your accomplishments and your outcomes, as well as the financial report indicating that all of the funds have been expended as related to the award grant budget and to the program that you had requested. After we receive this and their review, bearing that it's all correct and there's no any other additional information requested, the foundation will send you a notification that your grant has closed. If for some reason, for a grant termination, the foundation does reserve the right to terminate a grant if the project of the program is no longer within the Reeve Foundation parameters, or for failure to comply with the terms and conditions of the award as it's been detailed in the grant letter. If the grant is terminated, the grantee must provide the Reeve Foundation a complete and detailed reporting of funds that have been expended, and the grantee must also return all unused funds. The failure to comply with these provisions may result in your organization being reported to the Internal Revenue Service, the Office of Inspector General, and the ACL. Terminated organizations will be barred from receiving any future refundation funds for 7 years. We just want you to know that we are unable to comment on denied on applications or provide any kind of programmatic direction to the organization applying for a quality of life grant. That is seen as giving feedback on direction, and it's considered unfair advantage over other applicants. If you have any questions, again, just send them to the qol@christopherreeve.org if you have any questions in terms of the application and in terms of if you need help logging in or the things that we just went over. But we cannot, I know sometimes we get phone calls of people want to know, well, why was my application not selected? And we cannot comment on those. Thank you for your interest in our grants program. We look forward to receiving your submissions. Again, any questions, just send them to qol@christopherreeve.org. Thank you.